My 24F boyfriend, 26M, says I'm being controlling when I view his actions as disrespectful. Little background. My BF and I have been dating for 4+ years. About 2 years into our relationship he introduced me to his friend Josh. We were both away at school so we never had the chance to meet before. Josh and I were on okay terms, and I did my best to make as much effort in being nice to him as I could. He had a girlfriend for about 5+ years who I got along with as well. Josh spent last year's Christmas and New Year's with my boyfriend and I at my family party because he had nowhere to go. Fast forward a few months, Josh broke up with his long-term girlfriend because she was too boring. This caused Josh to go out every weekend and inviting my boyfriend. The problem started when I was planning on hanging out with my friends one night. Josh said he was going to hang out with his cousin Sarah. I later found out this is a lie and they are actually just close friends, so he refers to her as his cousin, and my boyfriend told him that he could come and to bring her along. When they arrived my friends were starting to leave and they told my boyfriend of a bar they were going to go to downtown and they intentionally were not inviting me to join with them. I talked to my boyfriend and he declined their offer but was mad at me for ruining his fun. He said word for word, "You just don't want me to go hang out with Josh and a cute girl without you." Of course we talked and worked it out later. But that night he ended up going home with me and pouting, saying that I am controlling him when I honestly thought the entire situation was rude and I wanted him to be by my side. Fast forward a couple weeks later, I go on a long weekend trip with my mom and sister. He updated me throughout the day that he was going to have a bros night with Josh. I called him at night to talk to him. He was driving with Josh in the car and I talked to both of them. Important note. About 2 Fridays after that I went out for some drinks with my coworkers who were moving on from my company. That night it worked out perfectly because Josh was able to drive my boyfriend to pick up my car and drive me home safely. The next day I woke up in my boyfriend's bed and asked him, "Are our plans still on for tonight?" He said yes and I went on my day. I received a phone call later saying, "Josh wants to go to a bar with me and after Sarah is having a get-together at her apartment. Would you want to come to the get-together?" I said sure, even though I was kinda hurt that we had plans to hang out together that night. About 15 minutes later my boyfriend gave me a call and told me I was uninvited. He said, "Josh asked Sarah and she said you're not welcome to come because you caused too much drama." We had a huge blowout fight with this situation. Him saying that I am being controlling and he can hang out with his friends and me saying that it's disrespectful for him to go. He ended up going and I sat at home pissed off for the entire night. We ended up talking and working it out. About a month later, my family and I were going to go down south for a weekend to my parents' cabin. They invited me and my boyfriend. He was only able to go Friday night to Saturday morning because he had his brother's graduation. He then called me and said, "I'm going to hang out with Josh and Sarah after my brother's graduation. We are going to the beach." I told him, "I'm really not comfortable with that," and he proceeded to tell me, "Please let me go. Josh told me it was either him or you and I don't want to give him up." I was shocked. I was completely blindsided by this detail. So, I started asking questions. He told me that when I was on the weekend trip with my mom and sister, Sarah was with him. She knows he thinks she's cute. And that the entire night Josh was shit-talking me to my boyfriend and to Sarah. They basically were saying I'm controlling and every issue that my boyfriend and I have ever had in our relationship was spilled to them. He then drove Sarah home, with Josh in the car, and ended the night. This hurt but my boyfriend decided to cut off the relationship with Josh and Sarah completely. I never told him he could not see his friends. The issue that is coming across now is that my boyfriend misses Josh. They were lifelong friends so I understand that. He is blaming me for it. Saying, if I didn't have such a controlling girlfriend maybe I could hang out with him. I guess I just don't understand why I am in the wrong or coming across as controlling. I view this entire situation as a lack of respect. Any advice would be greatly appreciated on how to handle this. Also, are there possibilities that Josh is trying to make my boyfriend single because he just got out of a 5-year relationship, or is that just my girl brain overthinking? Your boyfriend is horrible. Frankly, so are Josh and Sarah, and I can see why they're all friends. He's asked to be let go. You should let him go get a better, loyal boyfriend who cares about you. I grew up with a father who always left us to go see his brother. When his brother moved in with him after the divorce, it was chaos and my father ended up miserable until many years later, he kicked him out. The grass is greener on the other side until your boyfriend realizes that grass is fake. Be free op. You don't deserve to be a third wheel in your relationship. I'd ditch the BF, op. He honestly doesn't seem that interested in you. He seems more interested in Josh. Josh seems to want to get your boyfriend and Sarah together, and BF is either too stupid, or too attached to, his boy, to see what's going on. Most best friends stop being connected at the hip once they get into relationships, move away, start work, families. If your significant other of 2 years, at the time, is continually ditching you for their buddy, and there's a cute girl involved, it's not gonna last long. It's sounding to me like you're better off without him. The only ones causing drama are Josh and Sarah. Yes, Josh is trying to engineer boyfriend to be with Sarah. And boyfriend doesn't seem entirely opposed. He is majorly gaslighting you. Sounds like a major jerk to me. You deserve better. Also, Sarah is also a major part of the issue. She sounds pretty manipulative, as there were no issues until she became Josh's constant companion. Your boyfriend is such a dick to you. WTF. He wanted to go out with your friends without you? And called you controlling for not wanting that? Every single instance has been him being disrespectful as fuck, and then when you say, hey, that's disrespectful, he goes, that's controlling. Like, TF is wrong with him. Why does he even want a friend who talks shit about his GF? Hey, I don't suggest it lightly, but I think you'll be happier if you just drop the guy. Would have dumped him on the spot after that cute girl comment. So disrespectful. Babe, he's having sex with Sarah. Don't be daft. I'd call him and tell him he doesn't have a controlling girlfriend anymore, hang up, block, and move on with my life. If everything is good except for the lack of proposal, at what point do you call it quits? Him. 28M. Me. 30F. Relationship. 3.5 years and very, very good the entire time except for this. Hi. Looking for some advice. I've been telling myself for months that I'm crazy to care about this, and that my relationship is otherwise amazing. I do care still though, so I'm not sure where to go from here. We've been together for almost 4 years, and I explained very early, when talking about dealbreakers, that I did want to get married eventually, and that is what I was looking for in a partner. He told me that it was important to him as well, and I thought we were on the same page. About 1.5 years into our relationship he, unprompted, started talking about rings and if I'd say yes if he asked. I told him I would say yes and that I'd prefer a simple style of ring. I suggested he get a specific close friend's advice, she knows my preferences well. A year goes by with no proposal. In that time frame we'd traveled to 4 different countries and done a ton of romantic stuff. There was so much opportunity. I asked him if everything was okay in our relationship and what was holding him back. He said he was just saving for a ring. I mostly understood because all that traveling was pricey, and assured him I didn't want anything expensive. The pandemic hit shortly after. The pandemic did not impact my career and it positively impacted his. Last summer, I wanted to buy an investment property, real estate is really booming here, and an opportunity presented itself. He said that he wanted to purchase it with me and I told him that while I loved him, I wasn't comfortable making such a big financial investment without any real commitment from him. I told him it would be different if we were married or engaged, but without that commitment it was something I felt I should do on my own. He assured me that we were getting engaged, but it wouldn't be before the winter. When he still hadn't proposed in February 2021, I purchased the property on my own. It was a stretch for me financially, but I didn't feel that I should be going into something so big with someone I wasn't married to. I admit that I did not discuss this with him much ahead of time, other than to say I still intended to purchase in the months leading up. He seemed hurt, but said he understood. In April, the discussion came up again and he told me that the only reason he hadn't asked yet was because of the lockdowns. He said he wanted to shop in person. I told him I understood, and that it was not so important to me anymore. I acknowledged telling him this was dumb. At the time I was genuinely trying to convince myself that I didn't care because it's just a piece of paper and it shouldn't matter. He told me that it was still important to him and not to be silly, that we were obviously getting married. Retail stores have been open for several months now and still nothing. He was researching a new car last night. It just made me so damn sad thinking about how he's been telling me for actual years now the only thing holding him back is money or ability shop, but it really seems like that can't be the case if he's able to test drive and buy a new car. It feels like every time I've brought it up he just tells me what he thinks I want to hear regardless of whether or not it's the truth. I do love him, and otherwise he's perfect for me. But I also feel very much that he is stringing me along. It's definitely starting to affect our relationship. Family and friends are always asking what the holdup is and I don't know what to tell them. I'm starting to feel like if I don't leave him now, our relationship will just sour over him, leading me on, like this anyways. It will just be a slower breakup, which isn't ideal at this age really. I feel like I've brought up the topic enough for him to know how I feel. However, I don't think he understands that it's something I'm willing to end things over. I'm also not 100% sure it is something I'm willing to end things over either. After all, it is just a stupid piece of paper and I probably shouldn't care. The thing is, if he had told me when we first started dating that he wouldn't be proposing for this long, I never would have continued our relationship. Now I love him though, so I don't know what to do. Too long did not read. A person who thought that marriage was really important, fell in love with someone who assured me that they felt the same. He has been telling me for 2.5 years now that he was planning to propose. I don't think that it's really his intention anymore even though he insists that it is, and I'm wondering if I should just call it. My thoughts are this. Stop talking about it. He knows. Set a timeline for yourself. What feels reasonable, 3 months, 6 months, a year? In that time, don't bring it up. If it never comes up from him, no talk about marriage, a proposal etc. There's your answer. Take notice of the I will people. They've been, I will, for years yet haven't done. This situation sucks. Sorry you are going through it. I don't really know what there is left for you to do. You can't make yourself any more clear. In a sense, this is a good thing for you. You don't want to force someone to marry you if they really don't want to, after all. And at this point, if you tell him, I am gonna break up 'cause you're not marrying me, and he proposes immediately, that would hardly be genuine, no? You can try talking to him one more time, then call it. Here is the script I used with my now husband. We were only dating a year when we had this conversation. I said something like, I want to get married and I want to know if you feel the same way. I know it's a big decision and I don't expect you to answer right this second. You can take some time to think it over. But it has to be a yes or no answer. If it's maybe, I'm not ready yet, I'm not sure, etc. that means no. And if it's a no, it's okay. I won't be angry, I'll move on. But I need to know. Hey, I love you, but if we're not getting married then I think it's best if we end this relationship. I'm not comfortable waiting any longer and feel like you've just been complacent. If you don't want to get married now, then I respect your decision, although I wish you would have told me this as soon as you realized. I'll give you until the end of the week to think about it. My priorities are to get married and start a family, and if yours aren't, then we're not right for each other. You say everything is perfect other than this one issue, but I'm questioning what this issue might reveal about him that you didn't know before. Do you want to marry someone who has to be coached and constantly reminded to make a major life decision? He is an adult, he knows marriage is important to you, and he, of his own accord, said he wanted to propose over 2 years ago. If he wanted to, he would. That he's dragging his feet here in and of itself indicates to me that he might not be quite as perfect as you thought, unfortunately. I agree with other commenters that you should set a private deadline and not tell him about it. If that deadline passes with no proposal, you're done. He's had plenty of chances and opportunities. Do you really want to marry someone that basically is forced into proposing to you? It sounds so sad. You deserve someone that wants to propose and marry you. If a guy really wants to marry you, he'll propose. It's not rocket science. He's stringing you along at this point. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Set a timeline in your mind, 3 to 6 months maybe, and don't mention anything about getting engaged. If he doesn't propose, it really means he really doesn't want to. Move your stuff out and just be done. He doesn't deserve you, and frankly, this is just crap on his part. Propose to him. Person shrugging. If you haven't figured it out by now, he has no intention of marrying you. Don't believe me? Tell him tonight that you want to set a wedding date, sometime in the next year. Tell him you aren't getting any younger and you want children while you still can have them. See what he says. I'll bet he has a bunch of reasons for putting it off. Sorry this is happening to you. You can do better. My wife, 34F, has a work husband. Hey, I'm a long-time lurker and this is my alt account because I don't want to post this under my main. Also, English is not my main language, so sorry in advance. I, 40M, and my wife, 34F, have been married for a little more than 10 years. We've got 2 kids, both boys aged 7 and 5. We've got no real problems, or so I thought, in our relationship. I am an analyst for a public company, my wife is an administrator for our local council since the beginning of 2020. We make enough money to get by. Since we've been working from home, I've been noticing that my wife has been very distant towards me, always talking about work and not in a good sense. But when she's got a coworker on the phone, there is a lot of giggling, laughing and so on. I've talked to her about this, mainly about my feeling that she is investing more time and effort in her company workers than in our relationship. I get that COVID and working from has had an impact on us. She's had an outburst about how she hates the way I work. To clarify, she goes full in 8 hours a day. I do 8 hours a day but take time for breaks, do my meetings while walking, have a chat with a coworker over Teams and so on. I've been trying to rekindle our relationship by organizing a weekend getaway just for the two of us. A weekend in a luxurious hotel in an old castle not too far from here. The kids get a sleepover and the grandparents, and we get some time for ourselves. Well, things are slowly opening up around here, a bit too fast if you ask me, and we had a small drinks do with some of her coworkers and so's. Long story short, some of the people had a lot to drink. I don't drink at the moment. I'm training for an upcoming trail. And then one of her male coworkers walked up to my wife, announced that he was my wife's work husband, put his arms around her and kissed my wife on the cheek. My wife responded by giggling and kissing him back on the cheek and once in the neck. At the moment I was more flabbergasted than upset. When we got home I let her know I didn't appreciate this little stunt of her and her coworker. I asked her how long her affair was going on. Her reaction was that there was no affair, I was overreacting and shouldn't take things so seriously. She went to bed, asked if I was coming and I said no, she shrugged, went to bed and I slept on the couch. Next day I cancelled the romantic weekend away and let her parents know why I cancelled. I also, and this might be a bit mean, made an appointment with a friend of mine I haven't spoken to in quite some time, only he works for a lawyer's office that does a lot of divorces, and put the name of the company in my calendar. I'm also going to have a chat with my wife's direct manager. There are some rules in place against fraternization. She is starting to realize she's fucked up and is trying to have a conversation with me. Only now, and I'm not having it. I would love to save this relationship, but this has to be a two-way street. I'm willing to put in the effort to save this relationship, and I know COVID has been hard on us. If she wants to be with someone else, I'm fully prepared to call it a day. Thought that would hurt me greatly. Since my parents are both deceased, there isn't really anyone I can share this with. Couple of questions. 1. What can I expect, demand from my wife without seeming too controlling? 2. Was this really a joke gone too far? 3. Should I contact the spouse of the coworker? They kissed in front of you and there's no affair? Yeah. 2 adults kissing each other in front of the husband. That's the biggest disrespect they did to you. Yes, you should inform the other spouse. She kissed his neck? I wonder what her reaction would be if you did that to another woman. I'd lawyer up, I wouldn't trust her. That's not a work husband, that's an adult partner. They are having a relationship that is inappropriate and I would bet most likely sexual. You need to protect yourself and get to the bottom of it. Nah, that's weird, disrespectful and just straight up cheating. The fact that she didn't care and dismissed your opinions when you first said it wasn't okay just further shows the disrespect she has for your relationship. She's also taking this emotional affair outside of work and it's impacting your relationship. I would expect no contact outside of work with this guy and minimal in work. If they think the relationship is fine and there is no issues with fraternization, how could they argue against the spouse or company knowing what they are doing? Sounds like she's only wanting to put in the work now that your relationship is ending. Where was the effort before then? Wow, what blatant disrespect from your wife and her coworker. I'm a 40-year-old woman, and I have never ever come close to being comfortable enough with a male coworker to wrap our arms around each other and kiss on the cheek and neck, and I have never witnessed 2 coworkers doing that. It's not normal at all, and then when you confront her she of course twists if around on you and claims you're overreacting. This is cheating 101. Sorry to tell you that, man. Your wife is at the least having an emotional affair with affectionate and flirting and touching, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if they are sleeping together. Keep that lawyer close to you and be suspicious of everything. My ex-husband cheated on me for 9 months, take this seriously. Wow. Such little respect for you. I would proceed with the lawyer consultation. She could quit her job but she would find another guy at the next one. You handled that better than I would have. Ask her if she is willing to get a new job elsewhere. That would be an easy way to find out if she wants to work on this marriage or not. Though after that kiss I don't know if you should stay in this marriage, that was incredibly disrespectful. She's been emotionally cheating on you, and she did physical brontosaurus if you. It might just have been a kiss, but it's still physical. She can get fucked. She's on starting to realize because you're not being a push other. Start the divorce proceedings. Yes, contact the spouse of the coworker. Think about what happens when you're not there. Not a joke. Quit her job STD test and you get access to her phone, but she's probably deleted stuff anyway. 27 female, feel trapped in my relationship and don't know what to do. I've been with my fiancé, 31 male, for about 10 years. We met online and started our relationship long distance. I moved overseas to be with him about 4 years ago. During our long distance phase, I had broken up with him once because I felt like I had changed, grown as a person while he hadn't. He's not a bad person in the slightest. I never questioned his love for me or commitment to our relationship or anything like that. It just felt like we weren't compatible anymore. The breakup didn't stick. I knew it was destroying him, but also I couldn't stop thinking about him myself. I just wanted to talk to him and have him in my life again, so I came back to him. That breakup lasted probably about a week and happened several years before I moved. Since moving to live with him, I've just felt like the chemistry between us has steadily declined. I don't find myself attracted to him. Almost all our conversations involve some kind of bickering lately. We sleep in separate rooms, which started because of my difficulty getting to sleep and not wanting to disturb him, but has continued for years. I care about him, I support him, and I want him to be happy, but I just don't think I love him the way people in a relationship are supposed to love each other. To make matters worse, I think I'm actually in love with a coworker of mine. The coworker is married, so it's not an option to date him anyway, but it makes my lack of love for my fiancé all the more apparent. I get excited to see and talk to my coworker, and my conversations with my coworker are more enjoyable than my conversations with my fiancé. I find myself thinking about my coworker all the time, and my thoughts about my fiancé are strictly about finances and our future living situation. We're planning a move and struggling to afford it. You're probably thinking it's obvious that I should leave my fiancé. Well, aside from not wanting to hurt him again, I don't really have any other options. I have no friends or family, and my fiancé and I can't even afford to live together outside of his parents' house. Forget about me being able to live alone. I feel terrible for my fiancé that I'm pretty much only with him because I can't leave. It's like I have to choose between financial security and emotional freedom, and both choices seem wrong. I have no idea what to do, and I'm really struggling to cope with the feelings of guilt, shame, confusion, and being trapped. I have no one I can talk to about this, so here I am offloading to internet strangers. Any advice would be very greatly appreciated. Thank you. Sweetie, leave. It will be okay. It's scary but significant other worth it. I've been there. And I had no job, money or home and was 3 weeks pregnant. You're not trapped, you can leave at any time. You have money of your own, so you can move out and find a room in a share house, or a tiny studio apartment. High priority is to improve your job situation. If you have good job skills, search for a better job anywhere you can get one, and move there. There is nothing keeping you where you are now. If you need better job skills, then research how to get the training you need. You are capable, and you can make a better life for yourself. 1. You're going to hurt him more if you stay trapped in a loveless marriage until you die, or divorce later on and he feels his years were wasted. Better to hurt him now than later and just leave. 2. Save up some money. Do you have your own bank account that he doesn't have access to? 3. Can you get your old job back in the other city? Or a similar position in any city? If you don't have friends here, then technically you could move wherever you wanted once you have enough money saved. 4. Do you have a credit score? 5. Stop planning the move with him. Don't let him put down any more money on it if your future is uncertain. Is it an option to love back to where you're originally from? Please realize that by not hurting him you are hurting yourself. That married guy. That's an idealized relationship and that is toxic and you need to cut it out. You are in a relationship and so is married dude. You need to break up and get a new life. Find a new place to live solo or whatever and end it. Back off the married man. Be professional and stop flirting with him. He has a spouse at home. How often do you have sex? Read Untamed by Glennon Doyle.